honored to be reading the citation of Pastor Dr. Tony Rapu, my classmate. But we all know that he was our senior because he had done a bachelor's before. And I was also very privileged to be in the same group with him, Group B. And I can attest to the fact that he was very brilliant in that group and used to do a lot of wonderful things. So, Dr. Tony Rapu is a distinguished medical doctor, community reformer, filmmaker, and senior pastor of the House of Freedom, a faith-based ministry he founded to foster spiritual growth and social transformation in Nigeria. Renowned for his interdisciplinary approach, Dr. Rapu integrates medicine, faith, advocacy, and grassroots intervention to address Nigeria's most pressing social and health challenges. Under his leadership, House of Freedom operates as a network of church expressions and outreach initiatives, including this present house, its flagship congregation. The Waterbrook, serving young professionals, God Bless Nigeria, focused on community development and poverty alleviation, and its social arm, Freedom Foundation. As chairman of the Board of Trustees for Freedom Foundation, Dr. Rapu oversees innovative programs addressing drug addiction, urban poverty, and systemic marginalization. His work is characterized by a holistic, evidence-based methodology rooted in extensive community engagement, particularly in high-need areas such as Akala, Mushin, and the Empire Slum in Lagos. Through these efforts, he has developed scalable models for rehabilitation, reintegration, and empowerment, adopted by various public and private institutions. His collaborations with law enforcement and government agencies have helped transform stigmatized communities into safer, more inclusive environments. His influence extends beyond Nigeria. Notably, his initiative, Genesis House, was featured at the United Nations Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice in Austria, where its work on rehabilitating victims of human trafficking was showcased. Supported by the UN Voluntary Trust Fund for Victims of Trafficking, this underscores the global credibility and relevance of his work. In partnership with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, Dr. Rapu's Freedom Foundation received a multi-year grant to establish a community-based drop-in center for drug dependence treatment in Lagos. This initiative provided immediate health care, social services, and free medical support to over 1,000 individuals, emphasizing community-based interventions as an alternative to conventional rehabilitation and gathering critical data to inform long-term strategies. As a psychiatrist myself, I fully understand the impact of the work that he has been doing. Beyond organizational leadership, Dr. Rapu is a respected mentor, life coach, and thought leader, advocating for compassionate, system-aware approaches to addiction and social issues. He views substance use disorders as both medical and social challenges, and champions faith-based, evidence-driven interventions that bridge clinical, spiritual, and policy domains. To inspire societal change and document his impactful work, he has executively produced notable documentaries, including My Lagos Diaries, a critically acclaimed series depicting transformative stories from communities affected by drugs, poverty, and violence. These stories birthed another initiative endorsed by the Lagos State government, the Operation Better Life Project. Structured as a citywide social intervention program, its flagship project, Ile Ayo, a 50-bed substance abuse rehabilitation facility in Ikeja, was officially launched by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. rooted in a practical theology emphasizing social justice and community renewal. Dr. Rapu challenges conventional religious paradigms, aligns his work with contemporary discourse on faith, development, and social impact. He is married to Pastor Mrs. Nkoyo Rapu. She is the senior pastor of Waterbrook Church in Lekki, Lagos. She is a lawyer, pastor, and author, and has been a strong support to her husband. She's also involved in various church and community initiatives, sitting on the board of Freedom Foundation and the House of Freedom. Additionally, she's chair of African Broadcasting Network, a Christian television station, and several other business ventures. And they are blessed with 3 wonderful children. Distinguished management, alumni, class of 85, students, and all that are here present, please welcome with me Pastor Dr. Tony Rapu of the great class of MBBS class of 1985. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You may please be seated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Our chairman said he would lean on the existing protocol that was well articulated by the organizers. And the provost said he was going to maintain that protocol. I think I will just stand on that protocol at this time. So, thank you so much for your wonderful speeches. So today, we gather not just to celebrate the milestone of 40 years, but we're here also to honor what I call a profound and enduring journey, a journey that has spanned decades of dedication, of growth, and of service. It's been 40 years since many of us seated here graduated from this revered institution, UCH Ibadan. And so this occasion of our 40th anniversary offers us a precious moment of reflection to look back at the past, to appreciate the remarkable growth we have all experienced, and to look forward with hope, with purpose, and with renewed commitment for what lies ahead. I wish to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all my friends and my colleagues, especially those with whom I shared the early days of our careers. I'm deeply thankful for the shared experiences and the bonds that have withstood the test of time. A special appreciation goes to our former provost, Professor Yinka, whose dedication, zeal, and what I call unwavering commitment to progressive causes has truly been inspiring. Professor Ma, I know that a lot of development occurred during your tenure, and I am grateful for your leadership. And honestly, I'm not here because Professor MS spoke to my wife. I'm here because you extended an invitation to me, and I said, I'll do anything for our provost. So please, let's give her a hand. I also want to thank you for ensuring I arrived here early. She called me day and night to ensure I got here on time. So I actually came in last night, so I wouldn't be late to the event this morning. My sincere thanks also go to my chairman, the chairman of the local organizing committee, Dr. Habib Olamitoye. Your good works are legendary. Thank you for your tireless efforts and steadfast commitment to making this event a resounding success. I also want to acknowledge Dr. BC, who's not here. She was in my group, B82, I think we were called. But she serves as the chairperson of the Global Sponsors Students Program. Now, there are many others here I know who have made significant impact along this journey. but too many to mention individually at this moment. But however, we look forward to celebrating invaluable contributions on Wednesday during the commissioning of the Philip Oswald Hostel Block, as we honor the achievements of the MBBS&BDS class of 85. But today, for a few minutes, I want to speak especially to our current medical students. And I would be saying a few words as well to those who are listening to this keynote address. And we've chosen a theme, and I love the theme I've been given. I'm talking on the seasons of life. And I want to share a perspective which I believe can serve as a compass as we navigate through the seasons of our lives, especially for students who today are preparing to serve others in this noble profession of medicine. So if we consider life as a journey through three distinctive yet interconnected seasons: morning, afternoon, and evening. So imagine that we lived life to the ripe old age. When I talk to young people, I say 75. When I talk to older people, I say 90. So let's assume we split life into three. And if we divide this lifespan into three equal parts, each lasting 25 to 30 years, we'll find that each of these seasons, if we call them morning, afternoon, and evening, each season would have its own unique purpose, its own unique lessons, and its particular challenges. The wisest man who ever lived, King Solomon, said, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven." Said there is a time to be born and a time to die, and I will add in between a time to live life purposefully. There is a saying that when the use of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. So the wisest man tells us to understand the seasons of life. Let's look at the morning of our lives. The morning is a time of new beginnings, a time of laying foundational stones. The morning is the time when the sun rises. The morning is the time to plant seeds. It's a period marked by growth, by exploration, by discovery. I would confidently say, let me ask the students, majority of you, are you in the morning, afternoon, or evening of your lives? Let me start. How many of the students here are in the evening of their lives? Because some choose to further their education in the evening of their lives. How about afternoon? Okay, how about early afternoon? All right, morning. That's amazing. The rest of us here are most likely, even our baby, even the last baby of the class. So most of us here are in the late afternoon. Okay, late afternoon. Early afternoon. You have to swear and affid a bit to that. So most of our colleagues here for the reunion, we are honestly in the late afternoon or the evening of our lives. So everyone is currently in one season or another. And as the sunlight brings clarity and illumination in the morning of our lives is a time to focus on the purpose of our lives. The morning is when education must be our priority. So if you choose to start your education in the evening, we celebrate your effort. But ideally, it should start in the morning of your life. The morning is a time to build character, to set a vision for the future. And this vision requires foresight. So I say to the students, you've got to inculcate foresight. So my message to you this morning, can you please cultivate foresight? There are many young people who don't have the self-awareness of the seasons of life, and I'll talk about it later. But can you plant seeds for the vision you see in the future? What kind of doctor do you aspire to be? I know oftentimes we're just trying to pass exams, but what values do you want to uphold were you to pass those exams? What are your passions in life? Where do you see yourself 15 to 20 years from now? What are your deepest desires? So the morning of life is the time to pay the price. It's the time to build resilience. It's the time to build integrity. It's the time to nurture empathy. It is the time to cultivate a spirit of excellence. As Prof said, my own journey began with my first degree in sciences at the University of Ibadan. I got a degree in BSc Zoology, and I was contemplating further studies in fisheries. The professor had given us a place to start a master's in fisheries. But my father, who's late now, he said, I think you'll make a better medical doctor. So he encouraged me. I said to him, but I'm getting old. He said, no, you're not old. So he encouraged me to take a year after my youth corps to pursue medical training. Today, I'm grateful for that advice. I managed to complete medical school here at UCH with these distinguished colleagues of mine, did my house job at Luth in Lagos, all within the morning of my life. So what are your passions? My rural postings, we called it PSM. I think it's social medicine. PSM at that time in Igbora and Erua profoundly impacted me and ignited seeds of the social work that I would embrace many years later. Just learning at the time where to dig wells and where to place pit latrines, I found very profound at that time. And it always stayed with me. And my posting at Arrow Psychiatric Hospital also sparked a keen interest in psychiatry and addiction medicine. I remember, I think it was Professor Olatowura at the time, teaching on anxiety and depression and the effects of trauma, lessons that continue to influence the work I do today. So I often tell young people, your passion is like your GPS. It's your passion is your compass. When you are passionate about your work, medicine becomes more than a profession. It becomes a calling, as it is, I believe, for most of us today who are still enjoying the benefits of being medical doctors. So even though I do pastoral work, I've integrated it with all the experiences I learned in medicine. So the morning is a time for hard work. Professor Ma, I remember our second MBBS exams. Professor Fokker, do you recall? It was a grueling experience. I recall feeling very overwhelmed. But as the saying goes, resilience is built not in the calms, but in the storms of life. So most of us here celebrating 40 years of graduation, We paid the price with long nights of sacrifice and perseverance. I remember studying 18 to 23 hours in a day into the exams. Remember running to the dining room so as not to waste a single moment. I remember those times where we gathered as groups late into the night, had coffee, and went back just to sit for the exams. So therefore, if you are in the morning of your life, do not look for the easy way out. Sow the seeds now. Discipline, integrity, hard work, purposeful living. These are the seeds we sow now, and these virtues will yield fruit. Imagine going to a bank and asking for your investment or returns on an investment, and they can't find your name on the system. You have no records of any transactions. You do not even have an account in the bank, but you want returns on an investment you never made. And so people look for fruit when they have not planted seeds. So plant the seeds of discipline at this time. Many of us in our 60s and 70s often wonder, where did all the time go? Time does fly by. That's why we're also told to remember our Creator in the days of our youth. So remember your Creator in the morning of your life, and in knowing your Creator, He would guide you into a purposeful existence in life. So build your relationships in the morning. Build your relationship with God, with your mentors, with your peers. And my chairman, may I say, for the next reunion, please, could we have name tags? See, some of us who are turning 70 don't really remember all the names. So, my colleagues, do you agree with me? So build relationships in the morning of your lives. With your mentors, with your peers. And I must say, well, I'll talk about that later, but we who are in our 60s now, I have found that I look for mentors for those in the morning, in the afternoons, and I find that it's rare to find those role models who can model those virtues. So we're beginning to tell those in the evening, please don't retire, refire, so that you can become an effective mentor to those who are in the morning of their lives. So cultivating these relationships early will be like roots anchoring you firmly in the seasons to come. Let me now move to the afternoon of our lives. So as life progresses, so from about age 30 to 60, we now enter the afternoon. This period signifies a time of maturity, a time where seeds planted in the morning of life begin to grow and bear fruit. So in the morning, I emphasize that life calls for foresight. So foresight provides clarity in planning for the future. Now, in the afternoon, the focus shifts from foresight to insight and understanding, the ability to understand how life works and to translate knowledge into meaningful action. So the afternoon is the period where our knowledge from medical schools and all areas of life is now actively put into practice. Afternoon becomes a time of influence, of growth, and impact. It's in this season that knowledge deepens and your influence expands. This is the time to be aware of your strengths and to leverage them fully. That's the season to serve, where you're now serving patients, you're serving your community, you're serving your society, you're serving the nation, and you're serving humanity at large. It's in the afternoon of life that skills, character, and spiritual maturity come into play. And It's in the afternoon of life we build on the foundation of the values we imbibed in the morning. Of course, we never stop learning. I heard someone say, when you stop learning, you start dying. So the afternoon is the time where the sun shines the brightest, when the rays are most intense. The afternoon is a time for you to shine. There's an old adage that says, make hay while the sun shines. So our efforts in education, career development, relationship building, and spiritual growth come to a natural fruition. So you find some people struggling to do in the afternoon what they should have done in the morning of their lives. So it's a time to gain mastery and expertise in chosen disciplines. A few years ago, I had the privilege of visiting Dr. Phil Ozwa, my dear friend, at his office at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine in New York, in the USA. Dr. Phil's story, if you've read about him, is one of perseverance, resilience, and impactful leadership. Many years ago here in ABH, we studied together, we laughed together. He even taught me a bit of karate. He was a black belt holder in karate. And his journey exemplifies how dedication and hard work during the morning of life can lead to influence and impact in the afternoon and beyond. His leadership in healthcare, mentoring countless students and professionals, underscores the importance of investing early in one's growth, knowing that such efforts will bear fruit in later years. Many of our colleagues and classmates here have also achieved greatness, but we've all faced adversity. We've all gone through adversity, financial struggles, health crisis, personal setbacks. But that we're here means we pressed on and we emerged stronger and more resilient. Let me say this to the students. In the morning of your life, as you embrace educational abilities, our IQ is often the focus. But as we move into the afternoon, I want to remind us of another quotient, not IQ now, but AQ. AQ speaks of our adversity quotient, our capacity to persevere through difficulties. It becomes critical. So AQ speaks of our resilience, how to remain committed in spite of setbacks in life. So while the call to strengthen our AQ comes in the afternoon and later in life, it's essential to begin to hone, to sharpen this capacity from the very beginning. Embracing life's challenges with fortitude. There is a saying that many young people do not have resilience, do not have the capacity to stand in times of trouble. So I say to the medical students here, embrace resilience. In Nigeria, the journey to becoming a medical professional tests our dedication daily. The environment can sometimes feel overwhelming, and sometimes the challenges appear insurmountable. Yet, our training as medical doctors teaches us to persevere, to adapt, and to continue to push forward despite difficulties. I've observed many young doctors who, unable to find opportunities abroad, they become disillusioned with life. But I want to emphasize here that not all of us are called to leave Nigeria. If opportunities abroad open up, embrace them. But some of us are called to live here and to build life and career here. So while I honor those of our colleagues who have made an impact globally. And while I celebrate their contributions, it's equally vital to recognize and appreciate our colleagues who have lived, who have worked, who have committed their talents here in Nigeria. Their dedication and commitments are also crucial for the future of our healthcare system. Numerous brilliant doctors have trained and qualified in Nigeria, and their passion and skills are transforming lives, strengthening communities, and inspiring positive change. I must say that I am grateful for those who, despite their training abroad, are returning home, contributing and working tirelessly to rebuild our health infrastructure. Every effort, no matter how small it seems, is vital. Let's all remain motivated by the vision of a healthier Nigeria, where quality healthcare is accessible to all. Challenges in Nigeria are real, but these obstacles can be transformed into opportunities for innovation, leadership, and meaningful impact. Personally, I have had the opportunity to live and work in the UK and America, but I believe that my calling requires me to be here in Nigeria. So to everyone studying or living in Nigeria, I urge you to persevere through the challenges. Seize every opportunity now and prepare for what lies ahead. We have a great future ahead of us, and times like these offer hope for a strong, resilient institution. Let me close by asking, this section before I go into the evening, by asking a question people ask me. They said, you talk about morning, afternoon, and evening. So when is the best time to get married? What do you think? Morning, early morning. In fact, many of us, let me ask many of the men here, when did you get married? Could you have, a few of us grapple with marriage in the morning of our lives. But ideally, from a counsel, yes, Professor? It's a good point there. He said depends on whether it's female or male. Many of the females, late morning. But how many men are prepared for the responsibilities of marriage in the morning of their lives? So I usually suggest late morning or early afternoon when we are emotionally, mentally, and financially prepared to take on the responsibilities of marriage. So early afternoon is the season where most individuals are best equipped to nurture and sustain life commitments. So let me go into the evening as I begin to round up my address. Finally, we arrive in the evening of life, roughly from 60 years onwards. This is now a time of reflection. And as Professor Yinka has given us the theme, legacy building. And as a group, we're here to pass on the wisdom we have acquired. So in the morning of life, we relied, remember, on foresight, requiring us to see the future clearly, to understand where we are headed, and to pay the price for the future. In the morning, we needed wisdom to navigate, we needed clarity to see what the future holds and know how to navigate. As we move into the afternoon, we gained insight, ability to create and to build. Now in the evening, we look back with hindsight. It becomes a season of reflection, evaluating the journey of living a lasting legacy for those who follow. It's a time to review our successes and failures, to learn from experience, and to pass on what truly matters: values, wisdom, and the principles that have defined our lives. In this phase, our roles shift from doing to guiding, from striving to inspiring. We then become mentors and custodians of legacy, shaping the next generation with our stories and lessons learned. I'm reminded of David, who in his later years was advised by his men that they would prefer for him to be a wise guide for the nation of Israel rather than to continue fighting giants. Similarly, our greatest contribution during this evening season is to mentor, to inspire, and to leave a legacy that endures beyond our lifetime. One person who exemplifies this is Professor Mrs. Adefunke Oyemade, a distinguished mentor and the beloved mother of my dear friend, Pastor Bojo Oyemade. We recently celebrated her 90th birthday. But despite her age, she still radiates joy, enthusiasm, and vitality. Her legacy is rooted not in wealth, but in wisdom, in kindness, and in unwavering faith. She epitomizes a generation that has strived for success, and in so doing, passed on a profound legacy. So the evening, as I close, invites us to rest, to reflect deeply, and to pass on wisdom. It's a time to nurture the next generation like we're doing today, and to prepare ourselves for the transition into eternity. As I conclude, I recall a lecture from neurosurgery taught by Professor Olumide. Do you remember Professor Olumide? He explained that a concussion results from a sudden blow, a jolt to the head, causing the brain to move within the skull. And this movement leads to a temporary functional disturbance that results in disorientation of the patient in space, time, and person. That's what we were taught. Some say space, time, and place. Now, clinically, disorientation in time manifests as a patient being unable to identify the current date or day or month or year. I recall a palm white tapper who fell, and that was one of the cases we studied, and how he was completely disoriented when they asked him who he was. I think he said he was Jesus Christ. Now, I have seen disorientation beyond the clinical setting in people who are unable to identify the time or the season of their lives. So you see this dysfunction causing individuals to act out of sync with their circumstances, doing the wrong thing at the wrong time, or doing the right thing at the wrong moments. You see it in older people with a warped sense of dressing, trying to relive a season that has passed by. So let us not be disoriented in time. Let us not allow life's mishaps to give us concussion in life. I read about a survey conducted in a retirement home, what we used to call an old people's home. Many of the residents who were interviewed expressed regrets about their lives. They felt abandoned by family and society and felt neglected by the system. And majority of them said the regrets came from mistakes they made early in life. Many were disoriented in time in space and in person. Mistakes they felt they could not rectify. Others lamented their lack of self-awareness, their failure to truly understand what matters in life. My prayer is what Paul said, that we can redeem the time. So as I leave the podium today, I say to the medical students again, your journey is far from over. It is only just beginning. Prioritize the principles I spoke about. Plan for the future. Approach each phase of life with humility and determination. Remember, being a doctor is not solely about curing bodies. It's about embracing a holistic view of life and medicine, a view that nurtures lives, including your life and the life of your patients. Remember to acknowledge God in every season of your life, and He will direct you from morning through the twilight of the evening. Let me leave all of us here with a message of hope and promise. To the students, I say, the future is bright. Please clap to that. To those in the afternoon of life, this is your time to shine. And to those in the evening, know that your efforts have made a meaningful difference. And if by God's grace you go beyond the proverbial 70 years, by reason of strength, may your life continue to be impactful and inspiring. So that's my prayer. It says, if by reason of strength, 80, and by much more strength, 90, and enduring strength, 100, may your impact remain. May we all find joy and satisfaction in each season, morning, afternoon, and evening of our lives. Thank you all, and may God guide you through each season with wisdom, grace, and peace.